Keisha Lexington is liking anything on Facebook or y'all see that is active, it is not me.
It is her, okay? I'm under her login, so it's her.
Save your compliments. Already know that my flow is bomb and shit.
Good luck to that man.
Good luck to that man. Because Lord knows if we find that man, we gonna be jumping up and down. They're looking at me like, you know, having a grandkids like a badge of honor. At this point, it's like if you ain't got no grandkids, you ain't in the club. Okay.
Hey guys, this is a YouTube video with my lovely mother.
The party never ends. In a motel land with my son.
This video is going to be called The Selfless Girl Mom because we've been hearing so much about the girl dad, but the girl mom, a mother's desire for her adult daughters. So what is it like raising three very, 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 very different women, girls, like growing them up, them growing into be different women? How was that? Did you see that? Like when you were growing up, that you were like, oh, I'm gonna have like 2 girls, 1 boy, like.
I never dreamed of having 3 children and let alone 3 girls at that. But, of course, you came along. You were my firstborn. So, of course, you broke the mold. And so my next 2 didn't come until you were probably about 7.
Yep.
And so that was, you know, you were a little helpful. With the other 2.
Was I?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that, but good.
Yes. And so you kind of taught me what it would be like a mother to 2 other girls. And I guess having a good partner.
Yeah.
And raising children and just knowing what I wanted for you guys. I felt like it came easy because, I mean, you girls were pretty much easy for me. It wasn't like, ooh, I just wanted to pull my hair out or anything. I mean,
we're pretty good kids.
And I feel like, you know, like I used to always tell you guys, it was always about freedom come in stages. It wasn't like you got it all at one time because, you know, one time you wanted this gold in your hair and I'm like, no ma'am.
I wanted gold in my hair.
And then it was later on with the other 2, oh, I want 4 holes, ear piercings in my ear, and I'm like, no. And then, of course, later on, the other fad was, can I get a tattoo before you were 18? And I'm like, no. Again, freedom come in stages.
But would you say that you gave us freedom to just, you know, kind of do our thing and figure it out, and you wouldn't necessarily consider yourself like the strict parent? Because I don't think you were. But I knew my boundaries, right?
Right. I felt like I set the boundaries and I felt like you guys knew what those boundaries were. Yeah. I also feel like as in raising children, whether it be girls or boys, then I feel like not that you want your children to be afraid of you, but I also think that your children need to have some type of fear of you so that they know what their boundaries are and they know what their limits are in terms of what they can and can't do and what they can and can't get away with.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like, I also feel like when you guys used to get in trouble, it's almost like you guys didn't think that we were ever young one time or been in your shoes before. So it's like you guys would come and tell us these stories and we would be like, no, let's try this again. Go back and then let's come back and then let's try this again. Then you can tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know my 3 favorite movies?
Who doesn't?
I don't know.
Well, I would say probably Love and Basketball.
Okay.
Something Beyond the Lights.
Yes.
And Steel Magnolias.
Yes. What's the top one though?
I think probably the top one probably would be Love and Basketball.
You had it right the first time.
But Steel Magnolias.
Yeah. What has helped you to be a better mother, or you know, the mom that you have set out to be? You know, do you have those internal talks? Because, you know, I've talked with some of the women and they talk about like, sitting down and really figuring out, okay, I might not have it all together, but I'm going to figure it out. And I think that's where black moms get the title, because they figure it out. But for you, what did that look like?
Well, of course, that looks differently for everyone.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had children young, not young, but I would say young. So it pretty much, I was able to kind of like grow with you guys as well.
Because young now is like 16.
Yeah, I know. But
you had me when he was 18. I
right.
still consider that young.
Right. And so I just think for me that just being able to go out with you guys and be able to experience those things, because again, that looks different for everybody, because right now people are delaying having children later on, and they're choosing to live their life maybe a little bit more differently in their younger ages and choosing to raise a family maybe later on in life. But for me, I feel like now it's kind of like a blessing, because now it's like, now I'm living for me. I'm not living to raise children. I know friends or people that I know that have raised children their whole lives. I feel like I'm lucky in that sense that you guys are grown. You guys are pretty much self-sufficient, and that's a blessing for me. And so now I'm able to do what I want to do for me. And so now I'm in a graduate program, and so, hopefully looking to finish that. So for me, like right now, the sky's the limit.
And so that kind of moves us into, here your oldest daughter is. She's 32. She is single.
Right.
You've seen her in love before.
Yes.
You've seen her out of love before. You've seen her dating. You've seen her not dating. And so where we are in society, 32-year, I should already be married with a kid, right? Or two. Like, if at this time, like, there's no way I should be single. Right?
Right.
But I am, and I, in the sense that you said, I still feel like I'm living a lot of my life, writing my own terms, doing that. And we've talked about me considering having, children, but not with the man, not being with someone. So I wanted to see, what are your real thoughts about, me being in this space that I am, because I'm sure you want grandkids. I'm sure you would love to see me be a mother, on top of you accomplishing your goals. But what does that look like for you? Because
I mean, well, sis, for me,
yeah.
I love the fact that you and your sisters are kind of pretty much living unapologetically, and that you guys are kind of doing your own thing, because I guess my goal for you guys is just to be happy and doing what you're doing, whether that be with a husband and kids or without. I know that I've raised you to give back, so I know that whether you have the traditional family, whether it's husband first and kid, I'm not a stickler, because for me, I just feel like that's not the order for everybody.
Yeah, but that's going against the grain, sis.
That is going against the grain.
They say get married first, then have the kids.
That's true too, but I also feel like that's not in the cards for everybody either. And I don't want you or your sisters to even miss out on motherhood if you choose to do that, and not feel like you have to be in that sense of, oh, I have to have a husband first. Because there's so many children out here that do need a home and do need a loving parent, whether it be a single parent, so adoption might be in the cards for you as well, whether you having a biological child or not. For me, if you never have kids, I would be okay with that, because I know that in life you will always give back to society and always be creative and always doing something for the good. I know plenty of women that I know of that have missed out on being a mother because they were looking for that perfect setup. Oh, I want this man to take me out my mom's house or my parents' house and put me in my own house, get married, have this fairy tale, and that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And who's to say I don't want you to be in a relationship that you're not happy with, or it's abusive. you know, just to say, oh, you're married, you know, and you got kids. No. Right. And for some women, they have that persona that, hey, I want to be married. I gotta be married. So I'm gonna take whatever it is I get. Hey, if I got a man who's cheating on me, or I got a man that's abusive, hey, you know, I'm gonna go with that flow because, hey, you know, I want to be married. That's what I want to project out to the world. That, hey, I'm married, I'm living this life, but really, you're miserable.
Yeah.
You know, life is too short to be living miserably.
It is.
It is. You know, and to settle, no, you don't want to settle. You know, being a single woman, just dating, you know, hey, if that's your life, then that's your life. You know, you just have to be careful as you navigate or you move when you're single and dating at that point. But if that's your life, then make the best of it. But I would rather you not settle and be with somebody that you're just not happy with, just for the sake of, oh, well, I'm getting to be 35. You know, I got to make something happen. No.
That's whew. Well, I think about that sometimes, but I feel like I don't have those pressures in my life, not from my parents, not from myself.
Right.
But I used to think like that. I used to think like, oh my gosh, Shell, you're 30, okay.
Yeah, because you look at your friends and you be like, oh my God, all my friends are getting married.
Well, actually, I have my friend group.
But I'm saying that, oh, I'm a bridesmaid, or I'm this, or I'm that. But I'm like, take your time, you know, like.
Yeah. So if I come to you a month from now and I say, oh my gosh, Keish, I'm pregnant. I know who the dad is, but I don't really want to be with him. What is your response?
I guess my response would be like, hey, or if you're going to have this kid, then you have to make provisions for this kid, whether the dad is willing to be a part of the child's life or not. If you've decided that, you know, I'm keeping this child, then I feel like you have to make those provisions to see what that looks like for you in the long term in terms of providing for this child if the dad steps up or doesn't step up.
You moving with me?
No, ma'am.
How am I going to take care of you?
Well, maybe once I'm retired, you know, because that's in the plans. So, yes.
But that first year is like the hardest.
It is. I'll take a little time off.
Like a month?
Yeah, we'll see. You can't become so dependent on me now. And then I leave and you calling me like, Mom.
What am I supposed to do with this kid? But I do want to have kids. And I think the time when it comes and I'm excited about it. And we're, like you said, if it's adoption, if it's, you know, having a kid of my own and carrying a child, I want to make sure I'm very clear on my options. I make sure I'm being healthy, I'm being safe.
Right.
But I think I do see a child in my life, and I do see a companion. I don't necessarily am like, oh, I'm not doing marriage. Like, I'm not doing that. I don't care about love anymore.
But it's all about marriage. It's all about doing it with the right person. You know, if you guys ain't on the same page and you doing your thing and he doing his thing, but y'all can't come together and do y'all thing, then that's a problem.
Yeah. Okay, well, I gotta find me a man who can handle all of this.
Yes.
Good luck to that man.
Good luck to that man. Because Lord knows if we find that man, we gonna be jumping up and down.
Ooh,
and I'm gonna be like, praise him.
When he come, you might cry to the man.
Oh, I know I am. I'd be like, thank you.
But you're going to be cute at the wedding, though.
Oh, I am now. You know that.
You'll be cute, but you're going to cry.
I am.
You are.
Of course.
You are. Y'all, she's going to cry.
Yes.
I know. So the next question is success. And one of the values that you always instilled in us is y'all got to get y'all education. I will never forget, we're going into high school. And I wanted to go to West Ashley High School. That was just the home school. I wanted to go.
Yes, and all the homies went there, right?
I wanted to go, and that was that. And you were like, well, let's consider some other options. And I was like, there are no other options. And you were like, oh, yeah, there is.
Right.
And it was my fault because you remember, you had never heard about Academic Med at high school. But in middle school, I went to some little, like, seminar, and I sent you saw the packet, and you said, "Oh, what's this?" And I was like, and I was trying to get out of class. But you then made me take the test for Academic Magnet in Bishop England. And I did decide to go to Academic Magnet. And it probably was the best decision that you made for me. I'm not going to say I made that. You made for me.
Yes.
But education is big. What did success look like to you back then? Was it always about the grades? What was it? Because... Well, you were strict when it came to education.
Well, I guess for me, as me growing up, I wish my parents had forced me to go to the school that I wanted to. But of course, being an only child and being a little brat, it was like, oh, well, I don't want to be no uniform anymore. So it was like, okay, then we'll let you go whatever school you want to go to. So I think that I felt like, you know, once I became a parent, that I would make the decisions in terms of school, and where my children would go to school and making sure that they had the best education. Like I graduated from Burke. I felt like with you coming up, going into high school at that point, it would have been great for you to go to my alma mater. But at that point, I just didn't feel like Burke was really offering pretty much what you needed to be successful. And if the goal was really to go to college, then I felt like I didn't want you to have to struggle when you went to college.
Yeah.
So, and with West Ashley High School being the only school in West Ashley, for me, it just became too big of a school at that point in my mind. So then, when the other option for Academic Magnet came about, I felt like it would challenge you, and it would also give you the opportunities that you probably wouldn't have gotten going to such a larger or bigger school.
Yeah. No, I really think it was a great decision.
Right. And so then, with Brianna going to James Island for the IB program, just as kind of much synonymous with going to Academic Magnet. And then, of course, I was elated that Brittany got into Charleston School of the Arts at 6th grade, because then that was like, oh my God, I don't have to find another school, because she could stay there until 12th grade.
Yep.
So I think for high school, you guys got such an awesome education that it kind of really, really prepared you guys to go to go to college.
Yep.
So
it did. College was pretty easy to me. I mean, other than, you know, the balancing of everything else, but in terms of the actual work and the demand, that was pretty simple for me. So I guess thank you.
You're so welcome. Anytime.
But success, what does that look like for you then?
Well, success for me back then was, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to give them all the tools that they need. And I felt like in my mind that, you know, because you listen to maybe friends or colleagues of yours that talk about their children. Oh, my child is buying a house at 24 or 25, and I'm looking at my kids like, okay, well, what's going on with y'all? Like, you know, like, come on now. Like, y'all a little late here. So anyway, you know, I got to a place where I had to come, you know, dig deep within to say, hey, you know what? They have to do things on their own terms. Yeah. You know, so I kind of let go of, I felt like what my plan was for you guys. Yeah. And just let you guys try to navigate your own pathway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate that success is these, like, materialistic things, right? Buying a new car, buying a house. Right. What's some other ones that people...
Hell, getting married.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, like that's what people come to work to brag about.
Right.
But I mean, I'm just putting this out here. I mean, I know a lot of your colleagues can say they have a daughter who is starting this nonprofit organization that is, you know, changing the world little by little. So you know, so that's the, you know, changing the narrative about that's what I'm proud of my child, and that's what success looks like to me versus the oh my gosh, house at 23, married. Oh my gosh, my child is having a baby. We're having a baby shower. So you have to figure out. So you even dealt with that. In your older age. Not older. You're not old. But you know what I meant. See, that's crazy because we deal with that a lot. The comparison. The comparison is a thief of joy.
And then the other thing is, oh, what? You don't have a grandkid? No. Well, you know, right now, at my age, they're looking at me like, you know, having a grandkid is like a badge of honor at this point. It's like if you ain't got no grandkids, you ain't in the club. Okay.
What keeps you still being a selfless mom? now that your kids are adults.
Just being able to hear about all it keeps me going, and keeps me passionate about doing different things in my life because you guys are doing so much.
Yeah.
And you're doing different things and making all these changes, you know.
Because it's hard, right? It's hard to like change things up and do
because
things.
I also feel like too, as a parent, you know, you have to realize that your kids are grown adults now.
Yeah.
And that they are not little kids anymore. So I feel like we have those dialogue about talking about what that looks like in terms of growing up. I don't profess to be the perfect parent. And you guys weren't the perfect kids. So, you know what my downfalls are. I know what your downfalls are. And, you know, just to have that dialogue to say, well, hey, Mom, you know, in this instance when I was growing up, I felt like you wasn't there for me. You know, and as an adult, you know, you should be able to go to your parent and say, hey, in these moments or during this time, yes, I felt like you were the best mom ever, or I felt like, Mom, you just let me down, or you just weren't there for me. And you have to be able to receive that.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of parents they're not able to receive that because they felt like, oh, they did the best that they could. That's true. You did the best that you could in those times and in those moments.
Yeah.
But just because your child told you that they felt like you weren't there for them doesn't mean that you're a failure.
Right. Ooh, girl, you was preaching.
Hey.
Ooh.
You know, so I think being able to receive that and being able to work through those things and it really have a better relationship with your parent going forward and being an adult, I think you would appreciate as you become a mother and how you deal with those situations, whether it be mental, whether it be spiritual or emotional. Because if you don't have the tools or you're not equipped to deal with those things, you're not going to be able to do those things or be there for your children.
I mean, it reminds me of like the trauma that we talk about, right? Like people are, you hate to say it, but people are products of their environments. No way, no different. And so parents are, you know, they are taught to be parents from what they see. And if they come from a home that is a single family home or a broken home or domestic violence or whatever it is, somehow that may creep into, you know, their parenting style. It may not, but it's just like I was talking to one of the authentic Black mamas and they talked about that we don't give our parents enough grace either, right? Like we wanted them to do it all, be it all, and if they didn't, then they failed us as parents. But really, they were going through their own shit. Like they were going through their own stuff that they had to get through and still be there for you. And so, you know, as we get older and as we become adults, we need to give our parents grace and be like, whew, they did that, you know. Raising us, and they didn't have it right. Some things they didn't have right, and then they may still not have those things right because we're all learning and growing.
We are, and we're still learning and growing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about being a parent, right? You never stop learning and growing, right?
Exactly. So even whenever I become a grandparent, it's
still you don't have to say it like that.
Well, I'm just
you said it. Well, whenever.
Right. Hey. But whenever I become a grandparent, I'm just saying there's probably things that I would probably do different than what I did with you guys, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it's just another opportunity to continue to raise productive children.
Yeah. And then productive grandchildren.
Right.
Because that's a whole other thing. Because by the time I decide to have kids or any one of us, it might be a whole new ball game. Right. A whole new world. You're going to have to relearn that. I'm going to have to relearn stuff. So I think that's the beauty in it. You never stop learning. You never stop growing. And that's what makes mothers, right? So if you told me I didn't have to go to college, would I have gone?
You probably may have, just based on the fact of the pressures of going to an academic
I went to academic magnet. Yeah, I was going to damn college.
And so you know, your friends talking about, oh, I'm going to this college, I'm going to that college. So you kind of pretty much basically want to fit in and go to college.
Yeah.
The only time kids really don't go to college is when their parents really can't afford it.
Yeah.
Or if they really don't want to go, and then it's like, you know, because kids who really want to go to college, they'll find a way to go to college.
Yeah.
So...
And you know, the facade of being in college is like, I'm on my own, I can do my own thing.
Right.
I am a woman at that point.
Right.
And so people want to go to college.
But some people go to college for all the wrong reasons too.
Right. We've talked about it, but back then it wasn't a thing to go to a 2-year school. But if I could do it all over again, Keish, I would go to a 2-year school, knock out those hard classes, knock them out, be at home, get those A's, get those B's, and then go off to the 4-year and
you
graduate.
probably would have been a little bit more mature at that point going off to college.
Yeah.
And you would have been more disciplined probably in getting, being more structured and getting an education along with being able to balance that social life as well.
And it would have saved a lot of money.
I say, of course, it would have been a cost savings. But of course, as parents too, you want your kids to go off to college. I think we as parents...
That's a badge of honor too.
Well, that too, but I think it is a badge of honor, and I think we as parents, we don't look at the financial aspect. It's like, oh, we'll make it work, we'll make it work. But in all reality, some parents really cannot afford for their kids to go to the college that their kids desire to go to, and instead of telling the child, no, we need to find another college, they go into debt. And all of that. But if we as parents, we want to say, you know, our child go to so and so, you know, and they're off in college, and that's what you want to say, you know, like, oh, my child is doing it, you know, but you eating pork and beans and rice to pay for college. But
you put a little bacon in it.
Well, okay.
But it's like the struggle for what?
The struggle is real, right? But the struggle, like you said, for what, you know?
Yeah, I think about that, but if I could change
But I think if I could, as a parent, go back, I would probably make y'all go to Trident Tech first, and then probably go off to a 4-year college or do a 2-year first. Because that would have been more economically sound.
Especially with 3 kids.
Right. But, you know, I mean...
But like you said, you had to do what you had to do, so you made it work.
Right. Now, we had 2 kids in college at one time, so that was a struggle, too.
Ooh, Jesus.
So, but one thing I can say, though, all of you guys are college educated. Right.
So shout out to you, sis.
Shout out to me. I mean,
you scratch that goal off.
I guess my other one was making sure y'all didn't have kids while y'all were in high school. Also was probably on one of my lists too, since I had you at 18.
Yeah.
So I was determined that none of my children would have kids at 18 or younger, or just being in the teen years.
Yeah. What if we did? What if I did? You know, I was madly in love, sis.
Oh no, but I was making sure of those things because I felt like back then I wasn't having conversations about what do you do to prevent having a kid.
Yeah.
But I felt like we had such a better relationship that I felt like if it wasn't like you were out, you had to be out there sneaking to do anything.
Yeah.
So we would have those conversations, and if, you know, I had left it up to your doctor that if you wanted to get on birth control, or that would be left up to you, that I wouldn't even know anything about it. So I had already gave the doctor permission that if you ever needed or wanted to go that route, you could have gone through that without my permission.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it could have still happened.
Yeah, it still could have happened.
And then...
It still could have happened.
Then what would that have changed about your course?
I don't know what that would have changed about my course in terms of motherhood. I don't know.
Probably like maybe a little bit of like, not disappointment.
I wouldn't say disappointment, but I would be that mother. Like, you know, I feel like when children have kids at a young age, like, I feel like sometimes you get parents who want to make them suffer for doing it, you know, because they're so hurt and they're so disappointed. Like, oh, you got to carry this baby everywhere you go, and you got to do this or you got to do that. I think my role in all of that would have been to ensure that you finish school. You know, so if that meant you going off to college while I keep the child, then we was just going to have to do that and make it work.
Well, I think that's it. Oh, give me a hug. This was fun.
Hey.
Woo!